This is insane. Former President Gerald Ford basically called how Kamala Harris would become president.
Mr. Ford, what advice would you give a young lady wanting to become president of the United States?
Well, I hope we do have a young lady at some point become president of the United States.
Oh, that's so sweet. How?
Because it won't happen in the normal course of events.
Go on.
Either the Republican or Democrat political party will nominate a man for president and a woman for vice president. And the woman and man will win. So you'll end up with a president, a male, and a vice president, a female.
I told you, it's uncanny. There's more.
And in that term of office of the president will die.
Okay, close enough.
And the woman will become president under the law or Constitution. And once that barrier is broken, from then on, men better be careful, because they'll have a hard time ever even getting a nomination in the future. But that's the way it's going to happen.
What an amazing point from President Ford, who himself became president due to a scenario kind of like that. Two people above him resigned. He knew back then how hard it would be for a woman to become president, given the pervasive, toxic sexism of his time. But over 3 decades later, he's still right. Just look at all the nonsense the lazy right wing is trotting out now that they might face a female president.
Biden said, first off, he said he's going to hire a black female for vice president.
Are you suggesting she was a DEI hire?
100%. She was a DEI hire. He said he was going to hire, and she didn't. Her record is abysmal at best.
Yeah, but before I talk about her record, I'm just gonna walk away now, because I don't know. By the way, did you see that she has a vagina? That term DEI, whenever anyone says it in the Republican Party, it's code for you should dismiss this person based on the color of their skin or some other element of their identity. It's a horrible argument for them. Here's how it plays out.
You just skipped over. What about white females? What about any other group?
Like white dudes standing here with glasses and blue suits on, for example. How come I can't just be mediocre and get everything I want?
When you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president.
No, they don't. Say what you will about Kamala Harris. She was elected Attorney General of California. She was elected Senator of California. When big banks were only going to cough up $4 billion for California homeowners, she got them to give up $20 billion. She also tore Brett Kavanaugh a new Brett hole.
Can you think of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm happy to answer a more specific question, but
Male versus female.
there are medical procedures.
Okay. That the government has the power to make a decision about a man's body?
I thought you were asking about medical procedures.
She kicked his ass. And they are just looking at the color of her skin and her gender and saying, well, she must be stupid. Speaking of stupid, Sebastian Gorka, who's gonna try to convince you that picking someone he considers mediocre is somehow elitist.
They don't care about ethnic minorities, the little guy or women. That's all for show. It's about the bi-coastal elites. It's about the people who went to Harvard and Yale, who the biggest issue in their average day is how strong can they get 5 bars of Wi-Fi at their Starbucks as they're drinking their almond milk latte.
Who is buying this crap? No one who's talking like this is a man of the people. And are you gonna tell me that Trump is not an elitist? Because he's gonna tell me he's an elitist.
With the elite. With the elite. I went to better schools than they did. I have nicer houses than they do. I have nicer apartments. I have nicer everything.
Yeah, you're the elitist. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance both went to Ivy League schools. But yeah, go back to talking shit about people who got their law degree at UC Hastings. They're pretending that they're looking out for disenfranchised white people. I get that that's their messaging. But in the same breath, they'll basically admit they don't care about poor white people at all. They only care about rich elite leaders of the Republican movement.
What is the thing that's most annoying Americans in the last 3 years? It's diversity, it's equity, it's inclusion, which probably almost got my former boss murdered last Saturday. Those short, overweight, incompetent female agents screaming, "What do we do? What do we do?" That's the DEI that you don't have to be a presidential nominee to see that it's dangerous.
I mean, see how fast he goes to "it's women's fault"? Even though, I don't know, I see a bunch of dudes there and they didn't protect the guy either. Here is the playbook of the Republican Party when it comes to Kamala Harris. They got nothing. She's younger, she's hotter, so they're gonna attack her for being femaler and blacker. And that's not even the most nefarious thing that they're doing. That's just like basic bitch Republican stuff. The most secretly evil thing they're doing is pretending to stand up for poor white people. But when they're in power, what do? They cut taxes for rich white people. They want to cut benefits for working class people who can't make ends meet. And what they don't say is the average person on government assistance is a poor white person. And no matter how much pro wrestling imagery you have, or how many times you just repeat the word DEI as if it means anything, they're still going to try to convince you that Kamala is part of some evil conspiracy to make white people's lives hell. Even though that is the explicit goal of the Republican Party's leadership. And that's something that Gerald Ford himself knew. Decades before anyone even came up with the term diversity, equity, and inclusion. He knew that something was keeping women out of the White House. And it would take an act of God, or in this case, God, to get a woman into the Oval Office. And after that,
once that barrier is broken, from then on, men better be careful, because they'll have a hard time ever even getting a nomination in the future.
And you called him the dumbest president. I don't understand why people make fun of Gerald Ford. I mean, yeah, he was klutz. I did that on purpose.